What do we do with this information? If we can see ourselves and other people differently, if we can see the strength where we used to see weakness, how do we change our behavior? How do we manage people differently? How do we manage our own life differently? How do we manage our own relationships differently? How do we parent our children differently? The first step is amplification. We exaggerate weaknesses instead of eliminating them. We turn up the volume instead of turning it down. Now that sounds ridiculous, right? So let me give you an example. Jimmy Kimmel's a late-night talk show host. He's not a late-night talk show ho. I don't think that's a thing. Seems rude. Late-night talk show host. He has his own television show. He was recently asked to host the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and at one point he walked up to the podium and seemed to be getting very, very serious. And he leaned in and he said, "I just want to thank Mr. Mills, my 10th grade history teacher, who told me that I would never amount to anything if I didn't stop screwing around. Mr. Mills, I'm about to high-five the President of the United States." And then he did, putting this woman in the most awkward picture of all time. And then he came back to the podium and he said, "Suck it, Mills." Now, I'm not here to be down on teachers. Mr. Mills was telling him what his teachers, his parents, and his employers had told him about success. He was trying to help Jimmy when he told him, "You'll never amount to anything." That's harsh. Unless you stop. He didn't tell him to dial it back. He told him to shut it off. Unless you stop screwing around. What's important to understand is, how did Jimmy Kimmel succeed? He went pro at screwing around. Okay? He went full time. He became more childish, more silly, more immature, more ridiculous. He made a living doing the thing that Mr. Mills told him to completely stop doing. Okay? That's amplification. I'm a public speaker after being told my whole life that I needed to be quiet. I get paid to do the thing that people spent their entire life trying to stop me from doing. Not doing it a little bit more, doing it for a living. How could you amplify your weakness? See, people will tell you, "I love it that you're so intense, but if you could just dial it back a little bit. I love it that you're so organized, but if you could just dial it back a little bit. I love it that you're so sensitive, but if you could just dial it back a little bit." And what you need to think in those moments is, I'm not going to dial it back, I'm going to turn it to 11. It's not about moderating it. That's not where success happens. Success happens when you, and even think about it. I love it that you're intense, but if you could dial it back, what happens when you dial back intensity? It stops being intensity. Right? That's what the word means, right? We need to turn up the volume when people are telling us to turn it down. What makes us weird also makes us wonderful. If we believed that, we'd be looking for opportunities to get weirder. What makes us weak also makes us strong. If we believe that, we'd be looking for opportunities to get even weaker in some areas so we could get stronger in others.